Throughout your career, you've been a very outspoken proponent for mental health and how it's channeled through your art, in particular the first two albums. So I'm just curious how, it's serving as an inspiration, obviously, to your fans and through your art. How much of a consideration do you take towards preserving that and its importance?
I think as an artist, I think most people, but especially artists, tend to kind of veer towards the darker side of things. And especially as a young person, it was something that I struggled with quite a bit. And I think in my older age, and especially after losing my mom and spending a lot of years in therapy and grieving and finding different ways of grieving and managing my mental health, it's something that I have to be very aware of, especially in a lifestyle that doesn't have that much regimen or like concrete things to rely on. So for me personally, it's very important to have good people around me and to just like be aware that I have that inclination for things and to be sure to talk to my friends about it.
The regimen point is interesting because do you think being as an artist, not having like a strict, I have to do this, or like a 9 to 5, for example, where your mind is always occupied, that it is easier to kind of get lost in your own head at some points?
Yeah, I think that there are ways to construct a routine within like a chaotic lifestyle. And like I think part of that is just being okay with like not going out all the time or not like having destructive habits that kind of go along with this lifestyle a lot of the time. But it definitely took years to like be aware of that and like ensure that within my life. But yeah, I think so much of my routine comes from my work, of just designing certain like assignments for myself or like strict regimens, like even if it's just like reading every day for half an hour or like limiting my time on social media or exercising or like, I think I can like feel when like a bout of depression is coming on, and there are certain things that I have to be a little bit more aware of, like, not drinking or, trying to get exercise or like, pushing myself to like be aware of that sort of inclination.
How does that affect your art? Because a lot of, like you said, a lot of artists do draw from like that dark side and kind of use their art to kind of manifest what they're feeling. So when it does come, do you let it go into your art, or do you write a song, or do you like work on something else? Like, what is some of the ways that you're able to kind of keep it at bay?
I think I really enjoy creative work, and I think so much of my creative work, be it in writing a book or writing albums, is about being really vulnerable and expressing the sorts of feelings that I'm having. And I think by doing that, a lot of times it sort of allows you to sort of step outside of yourself and investigate what is at play. And for me personally, that is something that really has always been very helpful. It's very therapeutic for me to write music and write prose in this way.
Because there's clearly a strong connection for what your art is and with the outside world as a whole. You don't have a New York Times best-selling book that's a memoir, especially at your age, unless it's a strong message, a strong connection. It's something that people relate to. And your music, it's soaring to heights you probably were. SNL's season finale, it's incredible. So being on the other side of it, it just seems like it's a message and everything that's positive and connecting, and it's something that your fans and beyond now are seeing what, how important that is, not only to you, but in their lives as well.
Yeah, I feel very privileged to be in this situation. And, it was a long time where it did not, I didn't even think or aspire to the heights that we've achieved as a band or as a writer. And I'm very pleasantly surprised with how everything turned out. And I'm very grateful that people have found something helpful in the work that I do.
And you're seen as this advocate, though, through your openness, though, for mental health. That's got to feel good that you're positively impacting people's lives.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel of use in some way, and that is a really wonderful feeling.
Because it's just, there's a gravitational connection when people find an artist that they support and believe in. Like, I wouldn't say there's a belief in them and inspiration, and you serve as that, and it's something I imagine you take pretty seriously, especially being what you've been through.
Yeah, I think that I just try to be as honest as possible and as authentically myself, and I'm really grateful that that's something that has impacted anyone in a positive way. Yeah, that's all I do.
And I'm sure it feels really good to just know that 10 people, 50 people, 100 people, 2 people are better off because of that art.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been one of the greatest rewards of my life.
And through that, I mean, just have again, now you have a film coming out, which has got to be pretty exciting too. But it also goes back to that, to just being happy and just getting yourself out there. It seems like having a film and a book and hopefully new music too. It just seems really cool what you're doing.
Yeah, it's really cool. It's very, very surreal, and I feel like I'm just trying my best to make art to the best of my ability.
It's an exciting time. But what would you tell like your 15-year-old self now? Like, trust me, everything's gonna be okay.
Yeah, I mean, I think that I don't know. I mean, like when you're a teenager, you're just like so embarrassed about everything, and I guess I would just tell myself to like, I don't know, all the things that feel like are what make you really nerdy or what are gonna make you really cool later on. And yeah, everyone that's like doing really well right now in high school like is peaking and gonna do awful later on.
That's a good way to look at it, because it feels like, especially now where it's more aware when we were kids. Like, it feels like back then it was kind of like you couldn't really be open about like things that you were channeling, not you, but the generic you were the challenges, the anxieties, the depression. It's hard to 10 years ago, 15 years ago express that, where now it just feels like it's just a part of life, and that people it's a good positive change. It just feels like
Yes.
that people are just able to speak. So I mean, like, again, it goes back to you're just crushing it right now in every level. And even you probably 5 years ago couldn't have envisioned making an album like this. That's just so upbeat and happy.
Oh yeah. Thank you. I mean, I think that Jubilee, it is an album that's about joy, but it's not like zippity doo dah like
Right.
10 times. I mean, I think a lot of the songs are about like fighting for joy and giving yourself permission to feel joy and struggling to feel joy and taking yourself out of toxic situations to try to find joy. So I think that it's a really broad topic, and it seems like a surprise because as an indie musician, it's sort of counterintuitive to what sorts of topics we would take on. But for me, it felt like such a broad theme, especially as someone who's known for writing about grief and loss. It felt like I had the capacity to surprise people with a record about joy and all of its facets. And so I'm really proud of what I made and grateful how it turned out.
And it goes back to what you were saying about authenticity. And it's organic. It's you.
Yeah.
And there's nothing better than being yourself and expressing yourself that way, and it being rewarded too.
Yeah, I would like to believe that I don't know how to do the other thing. I think it would be a very miserable life to be making something that wasn't real to me.
Oh, and but that's again a sign of respect not only you have for yourself, but your fans and your craft. Because how many people there's so many people that don't do that, but don't succeed because of that. Because they try to be everything to everyone instead of and they're nothing because
Yeah.
they're not true to what their artistic vision is.
Yeah.
And that's what I think people gravitate towards to you at this point. And what have you noticed though, outside of yourself, but in the crowds, like in your audience, that what they're connecting to?
I think that I don't know. I mean, this Jubilee opens with a song called Paprika, which has like been so fun to play post-pandemic because it's very much about the creative process and the ups and downs of you know, the emotional life of an artist. You know, where it's kind of like a reminder to revel in the things that you create and what you've accomplished. But then also there's a very painful side when, you know, you're struggling with writer's block or imposter syndrome. And so it's always really fun to like come fresh out the gate to a show and sing a song that's like really just about the magic of music, and to have a bunch of people, often young people, sing that back to you after, you know, a full year without live shows. It's a really sweet feeling to get to experience one-on-one. I feel the most sort of connected with my crowd just fresh out the gate singing that song together.
It's interesting you say imposter syndrome because it's a lot of people, you know, it's in kind of this thing a lot of people struggle with, because whether it's someone, you know, working at a marketing company and they just get promoted to like a vice president versus the food vendor or a casino, you're the pit boss now. It just feels like it's an integral part of life that people, you know, battle with. It is, and it's just interesting to hear how you just describe that, because, you know, seeing it, you know, as a musician performing in front of all those people, that seems like it's gratifying in a sense that it kind of will, you know, wash away the imposter syndrome, right?
Yeah, I mean, sometimes it doesn't go well and it's horrifying, you know? I mean, you know, there's always like great shows and there's always like shows where like, you know, people don't care or there's not that many people there. I played so many shows like that. And so, yeah, I mean, I think after years of doing it, like it's easier to wash them off, but there's still like, I still have shows where I cry my eyes out because my expectation is so high and I don't feel like I've like done this, like executed this perfect thing. Like I remember when I played Union Transfer for the first time in Philadelphia, I cried like a baby afterwards because I didn't feel like I did a good job. Or the first time I played First Avenue in Minneapolis, I like cried in the little garage because my guitar wasn't working for the first 3 songs and I felt really off for the whole set, and I was just like, I'm never gonna play First Ave ever again. And then, you know, 6 months later we played it and sold it out and it was great. But yeah, I mean, I think that, you know, ideally imposter syndrome like comes from this very human place where you just want to do your best and you're very scared of being found out that your best is not good enough, or that something is gonna like take you off of your best and you're gonna be found out and all of this like incredible thing that you've built and created is gonna go away. So I think imposter syndrome is also sort of rooted in ambition of just like wanting to be great and not feeling great, you know? So I think that in some ways it pushes you to work harder, you know? For me, my way of like struggling with imposter syndrome, especially for Jubilee, was like taking music theory lessons or taking guitar lessons or taking vocal lessons, doing things to improve that make me feel like I've done my homework and make me feel more confident and putting in the work. And I think that aspect of imposter syndrome, even though it's very difficult, can sometimes be very rewarding.
Thanks for coming by. We have a killer DJ set coming up.
Yes.
With the best songs of the late 2000s and early 2010s.
Yes. Indie sleaze.
The one and only indie
My first
sleaze.
time doing an indie sleaze DJ set. I'm looking forward to it.
Will there be an LCD sound system?
There is LCD sound system, yeah.
Any other highlights?
We have to have Uffy on an indie sleaze playlist.
Santa Gold?
I didn't put Santa Gold, but I should have put Santa Gold. I can't remember. You'll have to see, I guess. Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks for coming by.
Yeah.